Talks, where we talk about all things medicine and all things life. As always, I'm Dr. Hope, and welcome to another episode of RDT News, where you get your daily dose of health news that happened today, yesterday, a month ago. You can all get it from here. Thing to talk about today is last month we had International Women's Day. Woo! To all the women out there, woo! And there's some things that I came across that I was just like, women, do you know this? So in some institutions, some companies where you may work, there's something called Men's Day, Menstruation Day, where women get 12 days in a year of paid leave where they can work from home or they can sit the day out because of having like heavy cramps or like really painful cramps or just having that rough day during your menstrual cycle. So imagine that. If your company doesn't do that for you, please talk to HR, advocate for some of these things because they can happen and they do happen. That was the first thing. Then the second thing that women are also getting is 6 months of maternity leave. I was like, which companies are this? Where? Other places get up to 1 year. I was like, that is so nice. And to make it even better, to make the deal sweeter, men also get paternity leave. So some companies, I think it's like the Visas and the MasterCard, it can be from around 2 months to 3 months of paternity leave. We're not in Japan where I think they give 6 months, but imagine having at least 2 to 3 months of paternity leave to spend time with your growing baby, the newborn. Imagine that. So those are just some of the insights I got from what companies are doing to improve the wellness and the well-being of the women within their reach. So that was one. Then something else is last month, WHO named the most healthy cities to be living in the year 2023. And I'll explain why. Okay, let me just get there so that you can know what I'm talking about. So, healthy cities. So how award-winning cities around the world are leading the fight against non-communicable diseases and injuries. These are the cities. So the first one was Montevideo in Uruguay. So this is what they were doing. Montevideo is promoting healthy eating through nutritional standards, salt reduction, and a healthy canteen to improve access to nutritious food for all. Imagine that. So what does your canteen, your cafeteria, your vending machine at work do for you? Think about it like that. Another city was Mexico City. So Mexico City is paving the way for road safety and healthier living. If you live in Kenya, you know where road safety is something that we die for, we wish for, and we wish it was even like highly celebrated and promoted. So the new bike paths lead to 275% increase in cyclists and safer routes for kids to get to school. You know, these days I even wonder, imagine like a kid is going to school on their own and they have to cross a road or they have to walk on the path. These days, cyclists are everywhere. They're on the path. And then matatus are where cars don't want to give you way at the zebra crossing. It's really a hazard. But it's good to see that there are cities that are prioritizing this just for the kids and for the pedestrians and the cyclists as well. The next city was, this one, Bengaluru in India. So this one was strengthening their efforts in reducing smoking in public places and improving compliance with smoking bans. If I remember well, back in the day, in Nairobi, there was a law that was passed that there are designated smoking areas. I think that thing has been thrown outside the window because these days smokers will in your face everywhere. As in, you're just walking, you're just like, God, Jesus Christ. You're in an enclosed space, someone is smoking inside the building. And of course, even passive smoking has hazards to your health. So this city is doing well in focusing on safe smoking areas and smoking as a whole in the country, just to safeguard like those who don't smoke to protect their health. Another country or city is Athens, Greece. So Athens has increased access to life-saving drugs to prevent overdose through community-based organizations and healthcare professionals. That's another good one. I mean, if you live in Mashinani or outside the urban settings, you'll find that drugs are not easily accessible to everyone. But the fact that a community like this is doing that, that's a very good step to take. And I hope that this is something that we also prioritize in our country. Not per se for overdose only, but also for like the essential drugs that we may need. You'll find that the drugs for treating hypertension, diabetes, even HIV. I remember there's a time a year back, there was a drug that was out of stock, and it's very important for people who live with HIV, and it's good for managing their conditions. So having access to these drugs is very important, and we hope that it's also something that is prioritized in our cities. Then the last one is Vancouver, Canada. Canada is always celebrated. I don't know. Canada is just, I think, a good place to be for doctors, for employees, for just you as an individual. It's always a good place. So Vancouver is making public health data more accessible via an online data tool to combat non-communicable diseases and injuries. The challenge that we face in healthcare is continuity of care. So what happens is you find that people lose their previous data, and it's very hard for you to continue managing their condition and to just follow up on them. So the fact that Vancouver is making public health data more accessible, good part on themselves. Yeah, so those are some of the healthy cities to live according to WHO. Then something else that we learned about last month, is there was World Hearing Day. I don't know if you guys know that hearing is very important. It's one of the things that once it's gone, by the way, inaenda. And they give us tips and tricks to take care of our hearing. And this is what they said. So the first thing is, it was easy do's to protect your hearing. So use earplugs in noisy places. This is mostly for people who work in like industries or just places where there's constantly loud noise. Use earplugs. It'll go a long way. Something else is check your hearing regularly. At least once a year, go and have your ears checked just to see that if your hearing is progressing well, if there's anything that needs to be addressed. Yeah. Then the other thing is, I don't know how to emphasize on this, but they really emphasize on not putting things inside your ears. Guys, we've talked about this. Q-tips, keys, what is this thing? Matchsticks with cotton to clean your ears. Do not. Your ears are self-cleaning, and the only thing that should go into your ear is your elbow. How far your elbow reaches in your ears, like if someone comes and does this, that's as far as you should be putting things inside your ears. So since your elbow itself cannot enter your ear canal, why is anything else entering your ear canal? And this is not done by a health professional. Please, let's stop that, just to avoid the injuries that we're getting. I remember I had a friend who had the cotton of a Q-tip stuck in her ear. As in, that we can avoid. And also, when you're putting these things in your ears, it can also be traumatic to the internal part of your ear, which you want to try and avoid. So yes, don't put things inside your ear, and always remember to have your ears checked at least once a year. Sawa. Okay. Then something else that was spotlighted is childhood cancers. Cancers are talked about a lot, but something that's not talked about is childhood cancers. And fun fact, childhood cancers are preventable. They're some of the most treatable. They're some of the most treatable cancers out there. And the statistics that were shown were actually quite alarming, that in not local, what do we call ourselves? Developing. In third world countries, about 80% of child cancers end in death, while in developed countries, it's about 30% that end in death. That is such a big discrepancy. And I think this is just something that needs to be highlighted, because I think it's more of, I don't know about it, so I don't know what to look for. So today I'm going to tell you what are some of the telltale signs of child cancers, so that we can be able to notice them early and to seek treatment as early as possible. So, warning signs of childhood cancers. So there's severe headaches, there's unexplained weight loss, there's unexplained fever, and bone and joint pain. These are some of the common signs that childhood cancers present with. And these are some of the things you should be on the lookout for, just to make sure if your child has any of these signs together, that you can seek healthcare as early as possible so that we can address the issue. Another thing that I don't think we all know is, when you take a photo and you have there's the red thing that normally shows on your pupil. That is also another way that we can look at cancers, especially eye cancers in children. There's something called retinoblastoma. So what happens is, instead of seeing the red, you'll see white. So if you see white, especially in children, when it's a photo that has a flash, if you see white as opposed to the red, let me call it reflex, that's also a sign that the child needs to be checked, just to make sure that it's not retinoblastoma, which is an early childhood cancer that causes blindness. Okay, let's go. Let's say, I think we're at the outbreaks now. In the month of April, there were a few outbreaks that we had. So this is breaking news. I don't know why this year has decided we are going to focus on sexually transmitted infections. Hey, apparently there's actually new strains of gonorrhea and chlamydia that have been discovered, especially in Busia and the bordering towns in Uganda. And they come together, this chlamydia and gonorrhea. And it was noticed because there were many STIs being detected in the local hospitals around there. And I don't think we can emphasize having healthy sexual practices enough to avoid these things that are happening. So guys, A, if you can, abstain. B, protect yourselves, please. C, condomize, another form of protecting yourself. just to make sure that you're taking the necessary precautions to make sure you do not get infected with these diseases. And if you get infected, please seek treatment as early as possible. Because remember, if you're not treated, you will give the next person. And the next person will give the next person. And that is how these new strains are coming about, just because they keep mutating and they become stronger and stronger and stronger. So yeah, that's an outbreak that we faced in the month of March. Then something else was, I know you heard about Marburg. So Marburg is what we call viral hemorrhagic fevers. So it's like in the family of like Ebola. And it was an outbreak in Tanzania. Luckily, we didn't get any cases in Kenya, but it's also always something to be on the lookout for in terms of how it presents. It's like a fever, and then there's the GIT, gastrointestinal symptoms, which they'll also have things like vomiting, nausea, diarrhea. So it's generally common symptoms, and you might not know what it is, but it's good to take precaution just because these outbreaks are here every now and then. Okay, then I think, yes, that's it for outbreaks. Now let's talk about the advancements that we had in the month of April. March, not April. So the government said, not even the government, our president actually said that he is allocating $500 billion for a facility to be built by Moderna to manufacture vaccines. So this should actually create opportunities for medical scientists and biomedical engineers within that field. I just want to see if this will come to be, because if it does, I think this is a great opportunity for those people in those various fields, and it will reduce, or rather it should reduce the cost of vaccines, because let me tell you people, if you know how expensive vaccines are, you will cry. You will cry. And a lot of insurances do not cover vaccines. It's very few that do cover vaccines, especially baby-friendly vaccines. So yeah, if this comes to be, I think this will be something that is very good for the health side and also for our pockets in terms of healthcare. Then something else is, this is actually for April. So last week, which is 2nd to 8th of April, was Health Worker Week. So myself, woo, to all the healthcare workers out there, there was a week to celebrate you and your efforts and all your time taken and dedicated to offering healthcare services to the public and individuals. And for that, we just want to say, pick up to yourselves, clap for yourselves. It's not every now and then that you're celebrated, but in that week, and not only that week, but specifically for that week, we celebrated you and we will continue to celebrate you. So just pat yourselves on the back because you're actually doing a good job. Okay, what else is in our general news? Last time I talked about the malaria vaccine, and what I found out was that the malaria vaccine has actually been piloted in various counties in Kenya, and it's actually a 4-dose vaccine, and I think most people have received up to the 3rd dose, and there have been reports that have shown that with the vaccine, there have been reduced cases of severe malaria, especially in counties like Homa Bay, the malaria endemic regions. And that is very, very, very good in terms of malaria, because if you guys have seen severe malaria and the likes of cerebral malaria, it's very, very, very bad. So the fact that they've noticed that it's actually reducing the cases of severe malaria, I think that's a plus. And we're waiting for them to roll this out even in more counties, and I think even internationally, because malaria is not just a pandemic in Kenya, but sub-Sahara as well. And also, I mean, to the world, because we have travelers who come from other countries and are exposed to the malaria as well. So that is follow-up from last time's RDT news. Then I think now, just to close it up, I cannot emphasize on hand hygiene. Guys, if there's something I've noticed is, since COVID numbers have gone down, which, do you know, they're still recording the numbers of COVID cases. My videographers here, do you know they're still recording the number of COVID cases we get in a day? Yes, like on the website. I think it's the MOH website. Yeah, I think that's, or WHO. So you'll say in Kenya today, there have been this number of COVID cases. I didn't know. But anyway, since the numbers have gone down, it's like we've taken a back seat in focusing on hand hygiene. So I just want to emphasize, please don't stop. Keep emphasizing on hand hygiene. Wash your hands and wash your hands properly, because the likes of cholera are still around. Just last week and last month, there are cases of cholera that have been reported. And these are things that we can avoid by just doing something as simple as practicing effective hand hygiene. So that is it for this week's, or rather not this week, this episode of Random Doctor Talks News, RDT News. I hope you've learned something, and till next time, bye!